Hi, Steve.
How you doing?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Trying to be good. It's been a while since I've made any of these, and I'm trying to catch up a bit. So I thought I'd come along and, even if I just lurk, at least find out.
Mark has missed the last couple, or Mark and I have been out of sync. Mark,
Yeah, and I believe that he's currently on holiday, on vacation this week as well. And he's been traveling to ITF stuff, so maybe it's not going to happen.
I will get a bike ride in after all this morning.
Ah, very nice. What sort of bike do you like to ride?
I have an old mountain bike, but these days I'm not supposed to be riding it on the street, so I converted it to a stationary bike and ride it that way. There you go.
Yeah. What do you use? I've got a Wahoo thingy. Yeah, Wahoo is what I use.
I can't remember the name of it. It had a big old fan on the back, and well, not that big a fan.
I know the type of thing. Yeah, this one I think uses oil or some sort of oil thing to provide the resistance. I can't remember the details, but
yeah, this one's got a little fan and it's got a little oil cylinder, so I'm sure there's a pinwheel in there.
Nice, good.
Well, I saw all the programs from the CCC meeting got out the door. The not CCC, the summit.
The programs, the summit. Oh, you mean the videos?
The recordings.
Yeah. Yes, they weren't that easy to find without going through a registration, but someone found a way, so that's pretty good. Yep.
Well, and they all got released this year, as far as I can tell. Last year they came out in pieces.
Oh, did they? I hadn't realized that's where they'd done it last year. Yeah. So
the opaque stuff came out first, and then the rest of it came out later.
Well, yeah. I can see why they'd do that. It's kind of that. It is that thing. That's how it works.
Yep.
So,
Hey guys.
Mark?
Hey, Mike. I don't know. I've had a chance to meet Steve a couple times. I've seen your name quite a bit, but anyway, Mark Gentry, ex-Intel, current Chase. um, Working with Mark
Sorry,
Novak,
Chase Manhattan was that?
Or JP Morgan Chase. I think there's some.
JP Morgan Chase. Sorry, yeah, sure. So,
the other Mark. I work with Mark Novak a little bit, but
I'm sorry. No, he's a good guy. No, that's excellent. Yeah, so I'm the exec director of the CCC, and I haven't managed to make it to many of these recently, so I thought I'd try and catch up a bit. I've been watching some of the videos, not from this one yet. So, but and I'm working with Mark on membership stuff as well. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, good to see you. What exactly do you do?
Well, Chase is interesting. There's this. Steve can help me maybe fill in the blanks here a little bit, but I think there's a letter that one of the security executives at Chase wrote recently that sort of a call to action for you get PAT-OPET for using confidential computing. So I think we're sort of defining it a little bit. I come from Intel. It's a little bit of an interesting transition to go from Intel to a bank.
Indeed, it is. Yes. Well, so, anything from Intel is an interesting transition. Been there, done that. So yes.
Yeah. But what I've got, I did update my resume just to be complete here. But I think ultimately we want to have the controls sort of comprehend. Banks are all about the controls that they have in place for security and all that. Just have them comprehend confidential computing. I mean, it sounds a little dry, but there's a lot there. I think, and my manager's given me some freedom to do some mini POC work for now, so that's nice.
Good, excellent. I'm just sending you an invitation to connect on the LinkedIn, if that's
okay.
If you're up for that.
Yeah, I probably should have done that. Like I said, I've seen your name several times, and
no, that's great. I'm if I know people or have a real interest in working with them, then I'm always happy to to do that thing. So it's nice to meet you. I have a suspicion, as I said, that as Mark Novak is, I think, on holiday this week, that we may be a bit sparse. If there's stuff we want to discuss, I'm cool with it, but I don't know quite how these things tend to work if he's not here.
We have a document we've been working on. I don't know exactly where it's at, so I was hoping to get a refresher so I can contributing content again. So I think we're not going to have much distance to go if Mark's not going to join.
Okay, well, let's just give him a couple more minutes, and if not, it's been nice to catch up with you, Steve, and nice to meet you, Mark. Where were you in Intel?
Intel, well, geographically, I was in North Carolina, and Intel bought a company a long time ago, and then it wasn't security at all. So I think what do I usually say? We sort of got connected to what became SGX, and then became sort of security people. But basically, for a long time, we called ourselves, colloquially, sort of the SGX software team. I'm not a huge fan of this way of describing it, but sort of architects in the U.S. and developers and test in Shanghai, and we had that model, more than 10 years, and more evolved into TDX, and I was sort of always on the attestation side a little bit, although I worked on it so long that I feel pretty good about, for what it's worth anymore, I feel pretty good about my knowledge about SGX. I think SGX still has its niche, but I don't know if Intel's going to be able to have the resources to I don't know what they're going to do with SGX, but anyway, that's yeah.
Well, it's still an important part of how TDX functions. So in that regard, I think it's going to stay.
That's a good. Well, they're moving to the more. I think so. AMD has the security processor that does a lot, right?
Right.
Including sort of the root of trust for attestation. I think Intel was going to move to this S3M thing. I don't think I'm spilling any beans by saying that. So Intel has of course, there's always legacy, and how long do people need to get off the? I certainly understand what you're saying about TDX attestation, depending on SGX, but at the same time, I think there should be processors out now that, the bleeding edge people, the early adopters, will just go right to the more S3M based attestation, which doesn't depend on SGX. But your point is well taken. It's almost like there's that somewhat tasteless, like half pregnant argument. So I think they're like pregnant with SGX. But but I know that like some people love SGX, and it's understandable, right? It's if you're willing to rewrite your code, it's awesome.
Yeah. Not everyone is.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah, I certainly think in the cloud world, pretty much everybody's moved on to the confidential VMs.
yeah.
And
Wait, what about
so,
Nitro Enclaves, man? Your favorite? That's a joke. Hey, on that note, real quick, one thing we're excited about, or maybe it's just, and Steve helped me learn this. Not then, believe me, if you need to drop or want to drop, don't let me hold
No,
you.
that's fine. I'm happy to shoot the breeze.
Yeah, I was happy to see that you can get SEV, S&P instances and EC2 instances in AWS. It's not a huge deal.
Yep.
I mean, I know I could, Chase is big enough that Chase is mostly late to the cloud, number one. Number two, they're AWS in the cloud that they do use, but there are people in Chase that have Azure and GCP accounts. But for the time being, just from a practical standpoint, I have access to a couple different AWS accounts as a Chase employee, and was happy to see SEV S&P. And then, Steve, we touched on this a little bit, but is there a generic attestation service that I can send quotes to for because obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, but for the time being, like the services within AWS don't really integrate with, or they don't really comprehend S&P attestations, right?
Correct. KMS is the service they have for attestation at AWS, and it doesn't understand SEV, so you've got to rule your own. Our policy manager would work. We haven't we haven't productized the AWS SEV solution at this point. So all we've done is helped people with prototype it there. So we know what to do. We just haven't turned it into a released product yet.
I see. And then, and I'm not sure Mike's plugged into the in Juno sort of day to day, but is there is that the prescribed more like the sort of the general prescribed solution for if you're doing S&P stuff in AWS, which maybe isn't very common, but how do I at least get like a token back? I don't really necessarily care about getting the actual secret provision because I understand that it's a little bit higher level sort of POC, if you will. But is there a way I can just simply get some indication that my from a remote party that my quote was good? I mean, just from like a simple POC standpoint, Intel supposedly has their ITA, which I know you need some kind of you said it seems like.
I mean, one option, if I may blow our trumpet, is Verizon, right? So there's the open source project Verizon, which is part of the CCC, which does attestation. I don't know how easy it is to use with AWS, but I'd always encourage people to look at that as one option if you're happy to be managing things yourself. I mean, it sounds like Andrina is thinking about some stuff in the product line at some point, but Verizon is certainly worth a look if you're interested in attestation options.
So they have something like so I think it's like MAA. I think probably the quotes I think MAA quotes that they verify have to originate in Azure. Maybe a simple version of my question is there something like
the MAA quotes are only going to work for the Azure machine. So if you want to do Azure, we've actually got you covered. We've got a full solution there that's productized to be able to convert a attestation report into a token that enables you to kind of do what you want to do.
Yeah.
The other thing we do is we handle that all transparently so that the application itself doesn't have to know it's in confidential computing and doesn't have to know that it's going through an attestation process. It can just reach out to an environment variable and pick up the token, and we'll inject it there as part of the boot sequence of the container.
Okay, that's cool. How do you infer when? Well, since I started that, how do you infer when attestation is needed, or do you do it unconditionally?
So we always assume that an attestation is required. Whether you do anything with the attestation results, that's up to you.
Okay,
so when we build a workload, it's going to have our code in it. It's going to have the container runtime in it. It's going to have the workload itself in it. It's also going to have a policy file in it. that you tell our code what to do during the initialization sequence. So as the initialization sequence is running, we're going to read that policy file. And that policy file is part of the attestation of the complete workload. And so it's going to say, after attestation, go fetch a secret from the HSM, or go get whatever content you want to go get, and then pull that into the enclave and put it where you want, or decrypt a file and mount the file so that it's there and ready when the workload starts, right? All of these are things that you would do in that policy file. How do you want to set the...
Yeah, so in practice, it's interesting, because I guess the going from let's see, in this case, S&P attestation or quote, I think we can all say quote, right? We know what we're talking about here. It's sort of funny at Chase. I don't think people know what quote necessarily means.
Right.
But it's almost like a big, effectively, maybe big isn't the right word, but there's been collectively quite a bit of effort that has effectively gone into like abstracting the somewhat still proprietary quotes and getting to tokens that are a little less proprietary. Is that fair to say?
So I view the policy managers doing that. It's going to bridge between whatever you're using for RBAC or identity or key management in the normal world, the non-confidential compute world, and it's going to use attestation to be the bridge into those sources of information.
Okay. Cool. And then it might give you a chance. So part of my question a minute ago was, I know it's got to be apples and oranges at some level, but is Verizon and MAA, is there any there in terms of just having a simple API that I could send an attestation to? I'm vaguely familiar.
I don't know the capabilities of Verizon on that, I'm afraid, at all.
We can connect you into MAA and pull content out of MAA. If you can get your hands on an Azure instance, we can get you all set up with this tomorrow and let you play with it. If you want to get your hands on an AWS instance, I'd plug you into one of our engineers and we'd have a conversation about how much work it would be to get you some code to go work with.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like, so AMD necessarily needs to have and does have what do they call it? KDS, right? They have sort of the equivalent of Intel PCS, right?
What we've had to do with all of the clouds is get them to make sure the BIOS can expose the raw quote from AMD. Then once we get the original quote, it doesn't matter to us what cloud we're running in, whether we're running on-prem or whether we're running anywhere else. So all of the clouds, when they first rolled this out, felt it was in their best interest to create their own quote standard and do their own thing. And that's one of the first hurdles we worked with each of them.
Okay. No, okay, that makes sense. I was just trying to sort of harken back a little bit to Intel, because Intel, the group that does ITA was like a whole separate group. There's actually like politics in there, which we won't get into. That's like, it's pretty much a whole separate group from like the core SGX, TDX folks.
Are any of them actually left at this point?
What's that?
Any of them actually left at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like, there's just only so much like that type of stress that I can handle. So I haven't really kept up with it on that. But the bread and butter, confidential computing and Intel, we had to have PCS, right? We have to have basically in terms of RATs, we had to have a reference value provider for like microcode, right? And the PCS service, pretty nice service. The team in Poland did a really good job with that. And I think AMD's equivalent is KDS. But the point I'm really trying to make is that the reference value provider and somewhat the endorser to some extent, that's separate from a verifier, right? And what we're talking about here is more like, hey, can I take, however hacky it has to be, can I take this little quote that I can get from like maybe like the S&P quote? And I think you've answered this. I'm just sort of recapping. Take an S&P quote and find a verifier somewhere.
Correct.
That So, and I think
our intention is to be agnostic on the attestation verifiers, because this is going to be an important part of any of our customers' architecture. Is how do they want to control what is essentially keys? What is the secret management? And so we provide a tool that will do that if they don't have one. But if they've committed to ITA, if they've committed to MAA, if they've committed to KMS, if they've committed to whatever, will integrate with that as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think yeah, I'll definitely invest a little bit of effort into trying to find the Azure people at Chase, because I see the evidence of it all the time. I just haven't met the folks yet.
And
how long you been there?
April.
Okay, still get your feet on the table.
Yeah, it's a huge, yeah.
Sorry, Steve. Karen.
Oh, no problem. I was going to say, you've met a Todd on our side.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So a Todd can plug you into all the right people here at Injuna to go play whatever experiments you want to play.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right. Cool. All right. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm trying to finally call into a SBMSN meeting today. I don't know if that would that's a little more like my history there. The governance and the workplace workload. Some of the workload identity stuff is sort of interesting, actually. Some things I thought about a while ago, but so it's a little bit different than my it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I'll try to do it,
Cool. I think I'm going to leave you guys if that's all right. Keep chatting.
Yeah,
don't stop on my account. This is recorded, just so you know. So
okay,
just
sure.
you're not saying anything dodgy, but feel free to carry on the conversation here or elsewhere. And I'll hopefully catch up with you another meeting soon. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Mike, take care.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, that was my last thing I said, was my attempt to, again, sort of recap things a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll reach out to a Todd and I'll have him reach out your way.
Okay. Alrighty. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, yeah, that sounds like a good next step. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. Okay.
So where are you, Steve, geographically? Maybe you told
I
me
am
before.
in California.
Okay.
Up in the Bay Area.
Alrighty.
I actually live on an island I live on an island in San Francisco Bay.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Good for you. Nice. All righty. Well, we will cross paths soon, I'm sure. So thanks. Have a good day.
All right. See you, Mark. Bye.
Okay.